Hi everyone, my name is Kenny
And my name is Rian, and welcome to Candid Perspectives.
with Kenny and Ryan.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, and welcome back to Candid Perspectives with Kenny and Rian. Today, we are joined by Kamilah and Letetia, and there are some female entrepreneurs who will be sharing their journey with us. So, to start things off, would you like to tell us who you are and what you do?
Hi, my name is Letetia. I am the financial educator at Destiny Finance, where we teach entrepreneurs how to manage their money, build their wealth, and of course, lower their taxes. Both individuals and entrepreneurs, especially when they have their high debts. Some people just don't know how to manage their debt and they will go haywire and go, it's too much. So that's the whole purpose of our business to make it a little lighter, make accounting and money a little nicer, if that makes sense.
Yes. Camilla, what about you?
Okay, so again, hi everyone. Thank you for having me here. It is truly a pleasure. So I do quite a few things, but one of the key things that I do at this time, I run a beauty business, a cosmetology business with my family. It's a business my mother started, or she began over 30 years ago. I came into the picture in 2008, right after high school. And as the years rolled by, two of my brothers also joined us. So we run it as a family unit. So along the way, I did start two other businesses. One of them namely being Wrap Centric, which is a head wrap business. I mean, I should have wrapped my hair for this interview, but I also love to have my hair out. So I do head wraps as well as speaking engagements and voiceovers, that kind of thing. So those are two businesses I would have started during my time running the beauty business, but mainly on the forefront at this time, it's our beauty business. Yes.
Okay, lovely. So how did you find out about or get into the profession or business that you are in right now?
Well, for me, I would say entrepreneurial bloodline runs in my family. My grandparents on both sides had their own business since way back then. In terms of me loving accounts, that happened sometime in Form 2, Form 3. But my mother used to always do people tax returns, so that was another kicker for me, right? In terms of the passion to teach people, that started about 3 years ago. I will not lie, I had this lovely way I used to come home and spread out every teddy bear you could think of on the piece that I had on bed and teaching people. So I was accustomed to doing that. And I do the same thing with my clients. I teach them and make sure they understand. So I'm not coming with behavior, oh, just do it so. No, I'm telling you why you're supposed to do it so. Don't come and say, oh boy, but she didn't explain it to me. I didn't really understand. I always try my best to come from the approach of a teacher. So I'm teaching you. So you don't be left high and dry like, I don't understand what she just told me. Yes, she just confused. I don't like math. Because I know personally dealing with clients, they oh, math is not my favorite. I don't like accounts. Accounts is so much hard work. So I try my utmost best to make it fun. As I say, money is fun. So they want to make the money. So let me show you how to do the right thing. So when they get the money, you know how to spend it with it, angle it, where it's going this. So to me, and that further passion came with my mother again, because she was always the one that in the house where she was take care and structure in terms of her money, where the money go, what it's spending on. While on the opposite side, my father was the as money coming, they go back out. He really didn't care where it goes. That is where that other passion coming to. Because I was always the one to say, but he ain't put aside money for this or he ain't put this. I was like, Jesus, it's two sides of the coin.
Yep.
So I was accustomed with that. And I do meet clients like that. And they will be like, oh gosh, how we just do that? I say, I really don't know, but it is coming after time, after practice. You'll be able to learn to adjust to the client that will be able to stick to the program, do what you're supposed to do, and then you have those clients that you have to literally, as I would tell them, I have to spoon feed you like if it's my child. Take one spoonful at a time, wait until they digest that and they get the system, then okay, give them something else. Because again, as time goes by, you will learn to understand your clients or learn to understand the dynamics of them. So that is how the whole main house starts, if you want to put it that way. But other than that, I enjoy doing it. I really enjoy doing it.
That's great. What about you, Kamilah?
I like that. I like that backstory, Letetia. Problem solver from small.
Yes, always.
Yeah. So how I got into the industry was, I always say it was forceful, not excessively forceful, but it was against my will, or so I thought. So I shared my story for the first time last year, well, publicly. Coming out of high school, I always had the desire to work. I started working at 14. Working at 14, not child labor. I will say my parents did not send me outside to work at 14. Please do not communicate this message wrongly. But I wanted to work. I always wanted to make my own money. I thought I was big before my time. And so right after school, I wanted to work. And I always saw myself interacting with people, human interaction. I thrive off of it. It gives me life, energy. I love it. I love interacting with people. So following right out of high school, I went to work at a grocery store because, again, human interaction. I am meeting people from from the beginning of my shift to the end of my shift. Good. Mm-hmm. And mom would always say, but you wouldn't even come to learn a skill from me. And I'm like, but I don't want to do what you're doing, sis. She said, come learn a skill. Come do something. You need a skill in your life. You always need to have a plan B to fall back on if you go to school. And in my mind, I thought I was totally over with school, by the way. So your girl was good with her high school education. So, little did she know. You think you know it all, right? So I lasted there for about 6 months and I gave into her January 2008. I said, okay, I will start, I'll come learn, and the rest is history. So I began January 2008 and here we are. And even through that period of time, I even completed a degree in social work. I always knew I wanted to help or do some sort of helping people, profession, something. Mm-hmm. And so I did that. But while working at the business, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I cannot see the past how many years I think it would be about 12 years of my life without the training and the experience and there was so much human interaction, so much I would have gathered during the years, so much wisdom, so much insight, because generally, when I began, my clientele would have been a lot older than I am because they are my mother's clients. So mature women and men, and you learn so much life, so many different experiences change your outlook and your perspective. Right. So what I was saying is that, I would always be told, you're so mature for your age, but it's because of what I was exposed to and my experiences. So yes. I absolutely love it. Being with mom. So we have, there's like old meets new. So we've been able to put a spin and modernize the business.
Okay. Right. So those are some really interesting backstories. But before you got to where you are now, I'm sure there would have been some hindrances along the way. So what would you say the biggest challenges for you were making it to this point, whether it be, family not being supportive or just people in general saying this is only an area for men, why are you into finance? What would you say some of the biggest challenges were?
Okay, definitely one of my biggest hindrance, because of my eagerness to always wanted to start a business. My first biggest issue was I was too young. My second biggest issue was I was moving too fast in terms of my education. That was my second biggest issue. And then the fact that it's a girl, That was true, right? But I went through a lot of it, so much, too much to even be able to describe each one of it, but it was a great deal. And then when in 2004, when I decided, okay, I really and truly don't want to work no corporate work, I really want to have my own business. And my husband at that time was my boyfriend at that time say, well, go do it now. You're always going and talking with people and you always just go do it. Forget about what people are saying and just go and do it. And that was the birth of the business. And I never stopped. I never looked back. Yes, sometimes it'll be stressful. Sometimes it will be hard. I would not dispute that. Sometimes you will like want to give up. Literally just want to say like, what the hell is taking? I'm making no sense. But you still do it. My greatest and my biggest supporters, well, my husband, my sister who's the other side of the business, my brother, which no people don't realize, he's also an integral part of the business. So technically, how she says a family-owned business, it is a family-owned business, but I am the one that doing all the hard outside and front, right? But it is a family-owned business. Majority of the ideas that I come up with and put out on social media, yes, they will be mine. Some of them I'll get feedback from my siblings, but lo and behold, this, like I have a money talks that I video that I do every Wednesday. That was the good child of my youngest son. He was like, Mommy, you have to teach other people about money because they don't understand it. I am going to school and I'm telling these teenagers how to deal with money and they're not even understanding the importance of it. So, as I would say, support is important. And from all angles, for me, support is the best. From my mother, straight down to my siblings, to my husband, to my children, I get support 24/7. They will know, okay, when I'm going to do my videos, okay, mommy gonna do videos, gonna be quiet. Mommy
quiet.
So they are custom. I cannot complain about my support. My support is 101%. If this was a live video, my sister would have been up in it, telling me, sending me prompts every 5 minutes. Don't forget to say no, don't forget to say. That is the kind of support I get all the time, no matter what. Even if it is, you might think, okay, it's been annoying. I could send a note and say, okay, I'm thinking of this idea. Give me all your feedback, and I will get you feedback. I do get the feedback. I am blessed in that sense, but that amount of support I get, I cannot complain. I will not give it up. I'm thankful for them being in my life because I was always telling that. And it is the best thing and the most important thing entrepreneurs need when they start a business. Very much important. I know not all entrepreneurs will be blessed with something like that, but it's something that we as entrepreneurs who in this business so long or in running a business for so long should be able to help ones who are coming up. That is my contribution that I love to give out to other people.
All right. So the first part of it asks, would I say if my field is dominated by men? No, because it's beauty and primarily because we're speaking about 12 years ago, heavily female dominated. Yes, there were some men in the industry, but over the years, which is a decade and more, definitely a lot more men, both locally and abroad, have come on board into the beauty industry. To this date, we have many male nail techs here in Trinidad and Tobago, killing it, as they would say. Guys, including my brothers who do pedicures, hair services, and that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't say it's dominated by men. However, my interactions so far, our interactions with men in the industry, it hasn't been a competitive thing. They don't approach the industry with a negative sense of competition. You generally find a kind of a support. They tend to be fun, outgoing persons to work with when you do interact with them, whether it be at beauty shows, beauty contests, competitions, that kind of thing. And the second part of your question asks if there are, what problems would I have encountered in starting our business? So I would not be the person to speak about issues in starting our business. However, I can't share because mom and I would have done a live sometime last year where she shared when the business began. And I know in the early stages of the business, because she began it right out of high school as well, I know one of her challenges was definitely finance, because being able to finance the dream of finance the business, because you're starting. She did have support from her parents, from her dad, which is my grandfather, but it calls for a lot. There are a lot of things that, you know, there's training, there's products, rent for your facilities, a lot of things. And I know finance was one of her biggest hurdles to overcome in the beginning phase. At the moment now, and from my entire experience, just like Letetia, my friend here, we have been supported. There has been family support for the business, because family business as well, which I'm truly grateful to God for. If I would say any challenges, but I think I would take myself into question 4. So I will not answer that part as yet, because it will literally roll right into number 4. But definitely. One of the challenges for me is time, but like I say, I will speak on it in number 4. Yes?
Right.
Yes.
So speaking of, we all know that being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's not easy to start a business, not easy to maintain that. So how do you find a balance between work, spending time with friends and family, and still having some alone time for yourselves?
Okay, to be honest, that was hard at the start. As I said, I started the business in 2004. My first son was born in 2005. So it was hard adjusting. I actually took a 5-year break when he was born. And so happened that my second one was born in 2006.
Double blessing.
So
Zero time for yourself. No time.
Correct. I got them back to back. Mind you, on a side note, I wanted twins there, but I get twins, but not twins.
Yeah.
So they came back to back. I had was for me personally, as a mother, I wanted the devoted time to my boys in terms of their education and stuff. So I devoted that first 5 years of switching off the business and just focusing on them, because I personally wanted to give them my all during that first 5 years, which I did. After that, after my second son was 6 years old, I sat down and I talked to my husband and said, okay, I know you really want to go back here, you want to stay in this corporate life, so just go. That was the blessing I get. So I took the blessing and I ran with my blessing. So from that time till, so from 2011 straight to now, I have been full-time as an entrepreneur. Yes, it was hard because I know how life just like a girl is slapping your face to make sure that you realize you're still existing. Yes, I did get another slap in my face. My son had to encounter 4 ICU treatments, my eldest son. So that was another slap in the face. Here, one time to slow down. Business needs to slow down again. So business did slow down. I went down to like, once ever so often, and I had a big 6 months gap so I could focus on him alone. So I can tell you, yes, the little hurdles are lovely. Just give you a little slap in your face to remind me, but time to slow down. So I did do that. After that, they were no more slapping the faces, but those slapping the faces did teach me a lot of valuable lessons. Because for me, growing up as a child, family was always everything. My mother always believed in making sure family first. Money can come after, but family always first, no matter what. And I maintain that same behavior in my business. Till the fact that, especially my older clients, know that when weekend come, don't call me. When you see I say I finish work at 3, don't call me, because after 3 is children time for me, whether it's cooking food, going and picking up, whether it's going and do extra activities for them. I have to make sure and fit that balance. But it is, even though it may mean that I will work late on in night to do work, that don't mean you have to call me and ask me, oh gosh, you are not dying. You are not dying.
You shall live.
Tomorrow's another day. You can always send me a message, WhatsApp, anything. But learn to, it was a hard thing, especially when my son went through surgery for clients, even some people understand it. A few of them gave me a little trouble. And like, oh God, I can't understand you, but I in hospital. How can I answer you? What do you know? So those are things that think, I think as human beings, sometimes we have to realize the entrepreneur is also a human being too. They have a family life, they have things they have to do. So it's not because you are not dying. Finance is not going to stop. Beauty is not going to stop. None of these things are going to stop. You can always call back at a later time. And they have to learn to reach like that. Having that boundaries was hard for me at the beginning because I was under the idea, okay, every call that comes in, you must answer. Every email must go, you must answer. Till now, I had learned now, okay, no. Here, this is my time frame from 7 to 10. That's my time frame. This is when I will want to have appointments. This is when I want to teach it. So I learned that by force. Nobody didn't teach me that. And what I'm starting to do, I'm using that knowledge that I've learned now to teach others. Because some entrepreneurs tell me like, God, guys calling me 8 o'clock in the night. It's like, you will have to be there. Yes, yeah. Until I reached a point, especially when my son was going through his surgery, I reached a point that I started to shut off the phone. I was like, oh my goodness, what happened? I don't have a life after it. I don't have. So it was hard to adjust. It was really and truly hard until now. Yes, I have the system down pack. I knew it by heart. Clients who come in, they knew it by heart now. But when you now start having that balance, understanding, you are wearing the many hats from the entrepreneur, the finance, the marketer, is everything in one shot. Plus, you have to run when you flip that coin, or if you're a parent, you have to think about your duties as a parent, and then you flip the coin, you have to think about your duties to your spouse. Like, Jesus, what things you doing? But that balance is important, it's very important. And of course, well, for the last 4 years, I have learned to adopt a healthy lifestyle too. So for me now, my new balance is I need to first thing in the morning, my exercise. Don't call me, don't ask me nothing until I get my exercise in. So like how some people say they have to do their coffee in. My addiction is my exercise in. First thing in the morning, my exercise in, then I can tackle the day. Anything else to come afterwards, my exercise in, or I can talk to everyone. So that balance is important. Of course, on my Sundays, your family time on a Sunday. So whether it is we decide to go somewhere, whether it's Sunday or Saturday, family time on a Sunday. And then for me, as a parent, well, once a week we do a week review for my kids. We do a review. Okay, how was today? What we do? Well, it kind of changed up now since we have homeschooling, but before we used to do the review while we in the car, moving from school to home. And now we do the review at the end of the week, what we do different. So it is nice. It is nice, but you have to really and truly have that balance because you don't feel like you're going nuts. You do feel like you're going nuts.
Crazy, yes.
You do, and you have to know what works for you. Whether it is meditation, yoga, I don't know. If you have to find it. My me time is exercise. Don't disturb me. And I know my eldest, because he's doing safety just now, he has developed it with me. So he joins me on my me time. So that is our bonding time in the morning.
Oh, that's nice. What about you, Kamilah?
Letetia, I must say I really admire, you spoke about a week review. That is admirable. That is admirable. And I'm going to raise that in my family as a good point for our next family meeting. So balance. You asked, how do you find balance? There is no such thing as balance. I have come this far. Guys, there is no such thing as balance. You just need to remember that we are human. And without the business, there is no business. And at least I should say in the startup phases for a good few years, because the idea of entrepreneurship is that it's supposed to function quite efficiently without you being there. But a lot of it requires us to we are the brain behind the engine behind this thing. I remember growing up, and I remember my mother not being home during the daytime, getting home really late, and she would spend morning to nighttime in work, and we couldn't understand it until I started with her, and I'm like, right, this is why you get home this late. It makes sense. Letetia spoke about phone calls ringing after 8. It was a norm for my mother to get business calls after 9, after 10, and she would try to take the calls, and I'd be like, no, sis. So I remember, we had to put boundaries, lock off at a certain time, taking phone calls, something we started recently, and I would say recently, as in the past 3 years, actually taking a weekend. 2020, that reality check kind of shaking our entire realities, where you kind of saw what mattered and what didn't matter. It really caused us to put a lot of things into perspective. We take a lot more time out and a lot more family time, me time now than we've ever done for the past 12 years, because rest is important. I've seen my mother manage a business, sometimes businesses, and a family and children in school. And I'm like, oh, it is a lot. So there is no such thing as balance. But as Letetia said, as the years go by, you learn your business. And being aware, because you have to first be aware of how important rest is for you, for us, because you will see no need to put structures in place for you to separate from your business when you need to weekly or on a regular basis. So we first have to understand that rest is necessary, rest is important. And then you start, okay, you understand how your business goes, you understand what it calls for, and then you kind of introduce measures whereby you could rest. And not long periods whereby the business suffers, because the business cannot suffer. However, you have to introduce rest. So I don't think there's ever a balance, but it is, especially when you talk about spending time with family and friends. Kenny and Rayan, and Letetia, for years. Remember, I told you guys I did my degree while working at the business. There was no social life. I knew no such thing as social life for years. And I mean more than 5 years, because I'm either at work or I'm at school or at practicum or I'm home. And family, well, my immediate family, you're getting home late because you're outside the business. So for many years, it was like that, until one day you realize, but life is passing you by. Where are you? How much money can you make? Is money more important than your family? Is money more important than your mental health? Is money more important than you? And there comes a time where you have to, what really matters, and make the efforts, all efforts necessary to place value at where it matters, which is your family and your health. Letetia said family first, as she grew up with that kind of mindset from her parents. It's the same in my family. Family first and foremost. Everything else comes after. And yeah.
I will but you with one thing. That was why 3 years ago, when my sister came up with this crazy idea, let's have a mental health day. This before all this COVID thing, eh? So we used to pick mental health days during the year, at least 4 for the year. We shut down, but our mental health day is going to the beach, because we love the water. Mental health day, but then we pick our birthdays. If our birthdays happen to fall during the week, we pick that day. When it's the business anniversary day, we pick that. So we always had that. So now when you see everybody talking about it, mental health day, I say, well, we do that 3 years ago, and now it's this thing. But it's important that mental health really and truly is important, really and truly. And as you rightly said, 2020 taught us that. Really and truly taught us that. It really and truly taught us that.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear.
Wow.
About, mental health.
No,
that was interesting.
agree.
I'll say that because I thought it was just my house too that did that before 2020. Because even, like, I mean, obviously I don't have any children, Like, I just used to like go to school and do all these different stuff. But even like going to school and doing all these things, there's so much things that we have to do. Like the world has us so engaged that sometimes we forget about ourselves and our families. And so
Yep.
my mom used to be like, okay, so we stayed home tomorrow. Like, okay, if you have class, that's fine. You can catch up. But tomorrow, everybody just staying home and we just relax and clear our mind.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I find that so refreshing. And then you just feel more motivated to just go back and do
Yep.
more work and
Yep.
be better.
That is so true. My kids tell me the same thing. Mommy, when we take the mental today, we feel better and we could function better. They always tell me that. Mommy, when we need another mental, I say, well, we technically home, so I don't know how we put it that.
So being technically home, it means actually removing yourself from the environment, because home and school happens at the same work and home and school happens at the same location. So you need to actually remove yourself from it. Yeah, and Kenny, you said something just now, and Letetia said it after, but it's easier said than done too, because guys, we're speaking about balance and me time and mental health. You can have it rostered sometimes, and it could be in peak season for your business or something. And you find yourself going. When I realize, check yourself. When was your last rest? You feel tired, or you find yourself snappy, and I'm like, why am I so irritable? And you check it, all right. You realize sometimes you don't even realize you're pushing yourself so much, and you have to stop and slow.
I would definitely agree with that. For me, my body knows when it's time to rest, because like I am accustomed taking my vacation August and December. So like about July, I will be like real irritable. I don't see no numbers. Something when you're going for the computer, you can't focus. Like vacation coming just now.
Yeah.
So you're mentally telling yourself, okay, yes, it's coming just now. Just relax, it's coming.
Yep.
So that is true. Your body gives you this signal.
Rostering, as she said, that works. Because for me, like even some people might like have it rostered and then they'll be like, no, but it's more important if I, go to work and stuff. But what I say is if it's in the calendar, it's set in stone. Okay.
Yeah.
So my calendar, it rings off. It says today you're watching so and so movie, because I schedule my whole life. Everything is scheduled. Okay. What I do, what I eat, what I'm gonna watch, everything in my calendar. So when it goes off, that's that. There's no, I'm not gonna argue.
There's no two ways about it.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
What the calendar says is what's happening. So if you're not in the calendar, then you're not on my schedule. You're not happening today, you're happening another day. That's just how it is.
I love it.
I mean, I've tried that and it didn't work for me. But I know that I have to make time for myself. So I put in on my to-do list, because I make mine by the week, because I can't schedule it down to the day. So I know like sometime today I'm supposed to eat. So I will get to it eventually, whether it happen at 1 a.m. or 11 p.m. Like I'll get around to it. Or if I know I'm supposed to take time for myself, I'll do it eventually, Maybe I'm a procrastinator, I'm not sure. But I get it. It gets done. But just to close off, what advice would you give to other women or just entrepreneurs in general, or people who would like to start their own business? Or what is the best advice someone has given to you that you think you could share with other people that would help them start their own business or make it through, follow through, or like what makes it worth it running your business?
I would say I have too much advice to give. Because it will come from various people at various times in my life that tell me certain things. I was like, that's thick, and it became a mantra for me. So like for me, if I go to my startup years, like my mother always had this saying. She used to say in our heads as children, it's in her nothing you can't do. Do it. Do like stuff. I was like, Jesus, it's like, mommy, you know we can do it. And that stick in my head all the time. So when it is, I feel the need of, as I said earlier, I feel the need like to give up. If your mother say you could do that, means you could do it. So it's just a matter of me putting my mindset and say that I can get it. That is one of the biggest. I even tell my kids this all the time, and they be like, "Oh gosh, mommy, how much time you could say it?" And I was like, tell them, I used to say that same thing. And they will laugh and say, "Mommy, that's not true." I say, "Ask your grandmother. If you feel like, ask her. She'll tell you exactly. She used to tell us that there's nothing in this world you cannot. Nothing. Once you put your mind to it, you could get it done. Yes, it will be hard, but sometimes you just have to keep pushing. The next biggest thing I will say is forget them insults. I hear you tell them no. Forget them. Yes, it'll be hard when you hear the big fat no, but you remember that no is not a setback. It's just a stepping stone for you to say, okay, how I have to fix the cue for me to do it right the next time for me to get a yes. That is I would say, it's the hardest lesson to learn, but it's the biggest step to take because it was the hardest thing, especially when you know you're pumping, you're going and say, yeah, man, I think I have it right, I could get it. And then you get, now me want that, yes? It's like, gosh, what do wrong for you? Sort of doubt your own self, that there's a voice behind your head that says, yeah, nah, this is not for you. This is where you really and truly have to put pen to paper. And the third one I have to give, and I learned this in the later years coming down, sometimes you just have to realize when you have to get help from somebody and not try to do everything for yourself. I know that is difficult. You have no entrepreneur that can't tell me that because you just feel you could do everything.
Facts,
You can't do everything.
facts.
You can't do everything.
Facts.
There's only one you. There's only 24 hours, so you can't fit everything in that 24. You can't. You have to dedicate 8 hours for sleep, and probably you do the other hours, but you cannot do everything. And your biggest problem is I know that everybody has is the plan. If you plan today and you can't fit it in today, learn to be flexible to put it into other days go down. You ain't go dead. Rome wasn't built in a day. That's another saying, but I used to stick in your head. Rome wasn't built in a day. Don't try to fit everything in. And I was like, oh gosh, mommy, how is this possible? But I need to get them. No, not been a day. Walk it out. Like another one my husband says to me all the time. Because I do accounts all the time. Sometimes you have this nasty behavior. Accountants would understand when it is you're trying to balance something, it's just not balancing and you can't figure out what the little mistake is and you will frustrate your living daylight just to get it to balance. My husband always tells me, get up, take a walk, and come back. Go and take a run.
Yep.
Yep.
And sometimes he's like, but I know the answer right there. I want to fix it before that. That is another big lesson I learned.
Yep.
To walk away from the problem and come back. Somehow there's always come back and slap in your face. Well, I was right here watching you, you didn't see me.
Exactly.
So you're ready. Let's have to learn. There are so many, that's why they have so many mantras. I can't go through all of them, but there's certain ones that just there to my heart that will stick no matter what. And you just have to learn to roll with the flow. As life happens, we're going to roll with the flow. Life is not perfect. You are not perfect. There's only one perfect being. So for flow, just go with it. Just don't reach that point where it is you feel too comfortable and you are not in that point to say, okay, it's time for me to be uncomfortable to reach where I need to. You have to be uncomfortable to achieve your goals. I will say one of my biggest achievements was learning to do these speaking engagement things. I love to talk, but don't ask me to talk in front of people. That was never something that I like to do. No, I am doing it so often. Just shut down down. So, as I say, there's nothing in life that you cannot. And once something is in you, and you have that passion, you will stop until you achieve your goal. You would not.
I said, Letetia, agreed. And I have two things that I will share. Just like Letetia, and I have a lot of things I can't share, but she'll definitely, have a lot more because there's so much more wisdom, so much more years of experience and parenthood and all of these things.
I know that.
Two things. There are two specific things that when I saw this question, they came to mind immediately. The first is what I've learned, and I think would be useful to anybody else who's either in business or contemplating going into business. Be authentic to you. And I know you probably would have heard it before, but it will not work if it's not true to who you are. If it's not true to you, we cannot pretend. You cannot pretend and last in entrepreneurship or business ownership. And a simple example, I learned that really early. So when I started, because when I started with mom, I put the business on Facebook. Instagram wasn't existing as yet. There was Facebook. So I would draw photos from, I think Pinterest would have been existing at that time. If not Pinterest, Google. And I would Google photos that would be nails or makeup, things I thought would have grown the audience or gotten our brand out there a bit more. And it wasn't happening. The page wasn't growing. It just wasn't happening. And I didn't do any research to know what to do next. But being there, because my mother is old school. To this day, she still thinks I take too many pictures and I spend too much time on my phone. And I'm like, sis, this is what grows the business. Okay? All right? You know, millennials. I'm like, this is what grows. You have to get it out there. So I would take photos and videos and I'd put them up. And that started growing traction and the page started growing and people would request for classes and appointments. And I'm like, okay, put more of our stuff. And eventually I actually deleted the album of things that I would have Googled from wherever or searched from wherever that were not our work. They weren't authentic to us. It wasn't our brand or our style. And there was a totally different response. So be authentic to you. And I think that could be applied in many aspects of business. It has to be true and real to you, as there will be no longevity. The second thing I would share is trust in your journey. Listen, one day it will all make sense. I remember for years fighting, not a negative fight, but trying to figure out how does being in the business pair up with doing my social work degree. I know I want to be in the business. I want to work with my mom. And I saw just how many things the business was responsible or took or did for our family. So it's necessary to keep that income afloat. But I also want to do this degree. It is also necessary. But how will they merge? And even after the degree with social work, I knew I didn't want to go back into the field of social work in terms of training wise, but I love the profession and I love what it offers. And I love that you can do social work anywhere, even without being under the label of a social worker. I mean, social work would work in Letitia's business. It works in my business. It will work in insurance. It works because there are just basic life skills and training that it really teaches you. And so even through my degree period, how does this fit in? All right, and years go by and they went by and they went by and everything started making sense. And even though I do not see myself the way I am in my business right about now for the next 20 years, because I know there's evolution and I know there's change. And even during the process to now and out of last year, there are so many things that I want to do. It cannot be contained in here, in what the business offers. So there will be extra growth and a new direction, but trust your process, honeys, because it is going to make sense. One day you'll be like, right, God, this is it. Right. And you know what? You'll find yourself wanting to, or not, no, without regrets, no regrets. But if I knew it would make sense this greatly, I would have taken some more notes. I would have enjoyed the journey without trying to fight to make it make so much sense in the moment. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Take every picture. Enjoy what the air smells like today. Enjoy the struggles. Enjoy it. It wouldn't last because it's building you. It's building your business. It's building your brand. It's building what you have to share for all of the other people you are going to interact with, whether it be currently or in the future. Trust your journey. Trust your journey and be authentic to you. That's it. I'm done. I have nothing else to say.
Wow.
But you hit your right point. Trusting in the process is important. Really and truly, trusting in the process is important. I always tell clients that trusting in the process is important. So you hit some good points, man. So so you just as mature as me. So I know
Remember, I've been exposed since 19.
But that is better because, as I always tell people, when it is you have a mature background, So like for me, my grandmother was behind me all the time. So half of the things I would tell clients, they were like, where you know that from? And my grandmother, she always just think these things, like for instance, if I hit a
Yes.
client, a patois something, it's like, where is that? I said, I patois, my grandmother used to speak patois. So I'm going to tell you it in English. Because
It
I
was so
feel
automatic,
correct.
yes.
Because that maturity is different. When you live and you grow with the older generation, it helps you. I will say from watching clients, you can tell a difference between an entrepreneur who has a mature background from an entrepreneur who just what we call now the generation X. It's totally different. Two different clients. I have seen it for myself. The clients who have that grandmother kind of background or grandparent kind of background, totally different from the modern clients. Totally different. Their mindset is different. Mindset is very important.
Yep.
Can be that.
For sure. Yes, for sure. Very, very thought-provoking words from the both of you, honestly. I here just sitting down reevaluating my entire life.
Kenny, you and Rayan just began, okay? Y'all now
And then
start, the journey now start.
No, you know what? But as you said, with trust in the process, that is a message that I am constantly trying to remind myself. But as you know, it is not easy because you're like, where is going? Like, I'm not going just like, we're not trusted in like, oh, I just get on this ride and go on this roller coaster. Like, I need to know where we ending up, you know. But I feel like that's just when we controlling our controlling.
Yeah, you want to have control, and it is very human to want to control. It is very human to want to feel that way, and you would have experiences that will humble you. I'm not saying you're not humble, but and it's like sobering experiences that will say, "Yo, I cannot control everything. Like I just cannot." You know what you learn to do? You learn how to face challenges. So it builds, I guess you could call it character or stamina. It builds you and you realize, okay, you could take more and you could take more and you become wiser with things. You get wisdom on certain things. And you said something there, okay, in trusting the process. Also with trusting the process, stay faithful to the things that you are doing, especially the things that you are gifted in. You're great at speaking. You and Renee have a good rapport together. Even if you are not doing this within the next 10 years, what you're doing here is going to take you into another chapter and another phase of your lives, whether it be together or separate. But be faithful in it. Do it diligently, not haphazardly. Do it with intentionally, and faithfully. Listen. Yes. Yes.
But it's true what you say. Those what I call the valleys, when you go down in those valleys, is really and truly help you build character.
Yep.
Best character building. You wouldn't believe something is good. She's like, that was the lesson I learned there. Okay, let me walk in that.
Dust your shoulders off and say, go brush your shoulders off, and you go again. Yeah.
Brian, you have any closing thoughts?
Not particularly. I mean, all the moments of my interjections passed, but not in a bad way. But I think this officially sets the record for our longest episode. That is a lot.
Wow.
Well, long, but
I appreciate
informative.
all of it.
I really do appreciate having the opportunity to share.
Annie and myself, I would really like to thank you all for coming out. Letetia, I remember when I'd messaged you, you said, today's family day, and thank you for taking the time, getting all dressed up, thank you for doing your hair, getting made up. I appreciate it a lot. Kenny and I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, and we thank you so much for sharing.
Welcome.
Well, we thank our viewers for listening.
Definitely.
See you all in another episode in the future. So we look forward.
Here for it.
Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to suggest a topic, leave a message in the comment section.
If you'd like to see more videos, click the subscribe button and turn on your post notifications.